Well, they're not. They're normal toes.
On that note.
All right. Hello.
Hey.
So
it's been a crazy week. I know you were earlier you were saying the last 2 weeks.
It's felt like 2
literally
weeks.
only been 1 week. But it's been insane.
Yeah, it's been a little crazy since our last video. When we last left you, we were in Idaho and we were getting ready to start heading west again.
Funny enough, the reason we decided to leave our Idaho campsite a couple days early is because there was a wildfire in Bridger, Montana, and the smoke was blowing into Island Park, Idaho, where we were.
And we were thinking, it was like, oh, this is terrible. Oh, man.
It was messing with my allergies.
Yeah.
I was sneezing. My eyes were watering. I was like, we got to get out of this. Let's go west.
We were aware of the wildfires in Oregon and California, but we figured that if we stayed west far enough
and above
it in Washington, that we'd probably be okay. Well, pretty much as soon as we got into Washington, we ran into issues.
In our quest to find better air quality, to leave the smoke and wildfires that were affecting our spot in Idaho, we've managed to find a dust storm. So this is just crazy. Like this way, the dust is just being blown everywhere. And over here, somebody has started some kind of fire. There's fire bans all over for obvious reasons. So I don't know if that's something intentional or not, but
as we were on the interstate, the winds were so crazy, we were like, screw this. This isn't fun, so we just got off on a rest stop and stayed at a rest stop pretty much all day. So I-90, westbound and eastbound, was closed literally right after we got off and just hung out at the rest area. And so the road almost immediately in front of us was closed right after that, and because there were multiple accidents, there was blowing dust and smoke, there was super poor visibility.
Yeah.
They closed the interstate down. So if we had kept on driving, we would have probably been in that area right when they closed it, which would not have been a good thing. So it was great that we were able to get off on the rest stop and relax, do some work, and then sort of reassess, like, all right, well, that just happened, what do we do now? And that's what we did. And later that day, we found a campsite pretty close by, stayed there. We were like, all right, that's okay. That was weird, but it probably won't happen again.
And the winds weren't as crazy anymore.
Nowhere near as bad.
So we felt like we were good to keep going.
After that initial campsite, and this is like our first night in Washington. The goal was to get up to North Cascades National Park, and so we started driving in that way, but we couldn't take the interstate that we had intended to, but we were kind of excited to take back roads, see some land, part of eastern Washington that we would have never seen before and probably wouldn't have sought it out to see, but we were like, we're here, this is a unique place, let's enjoy this scenic drive. And we did, and it was gorgeous.
Well, for a little while.
For a while.
We were actually on like a scenic byway, and you could tell that if it weren't for the wildfires that we ran into, it would have been stunning. But we got to a point where we could literally see this fire in the distance, and we pulled over to take photos of it and decide if we, look at our route and make sure it's still safe to go the way we were planning to go. An emergency responder pulled up and he just told us that like they're trying to contain it, but this small farm area of Washington like literally just doesn't have the resources. So I don't know, like
they don't have the resources to deal with a fire of that size, and he was saying that it takes 4 hours now to travel all the way around it to assess, to help people and to assess damage, and it had started while we were in Washington. It had only started a few hours ago, and this plume had grown to such a size, like everybody's just scrambling. And from what we read in the news, there was a town that was just, they had an evacuation order, but they couldn't leave because there was zero visibility. And so they had to just hunker down. And it was really kind of reading that, listening to, this guy saying that they just don't know, they don't have the resources to deal with it. There are repeaters down, so they can't even talk to each other adequately. it was kind of a hard thing to hear and a hard thing to read in the news, and difficult to see it happen right before your eyes. It was a strange feeling of concern and there was an air of seriousness.
Wanting to feel like we could help, but there's nothing that we could do.
I asked the marshal if they needed help getting supplies to people. He's like, no, we have that. That's not the issue. It's just getting communications and other supplies and things. So there wasn't much we could do anyway, but we offered what we could. But it was this crazy thing. So anyway, after that fire, we rerouted again. It's right there.
Oh man!
Even if we did get there, I think it'd be such low visibility that
we don't want to
wouldn't even be
do
able
that.
to do anything. So
Okay.
all right, what I'm going to turn around here.
All right.
And we'll figure out a different way. 'Cause it might be okay. It might work, but it's worth the risk. And I also just want to stay out of people's way. And then unknowingly hopped on a road that was, I think they closed it while we were on it. And what was this farmland quickly became this just black scrub. Another fire had literally just gone through an area that we just happened to cross, trying to get away and around everything else.
Yeah, it looked apocalyptic. Like
it was crazy.
Everything was black. You could see where smoke had burned the road and the railing on the side of the road.
The fire was coming over the road and had you could see clearly defined stripes from where the fire and heat and smoke were stopped by the guardrails. I mean, the whole place was, and there were some areas still smoldering. We still saw stuff on fire. And we thought that we were getting around it. We thought we were just going through smoke, but we ended up going into one of the fires. Meanwhile, while all of this is happening, we've been on country roads with not a whole lot of services in between. So we're rerouting, we're trying to get to places, finding fires, having to move on again and reroute one more time. And suddenly, gas is starting to become an issue. There are places around that are gas stations, but they don't have power, so they can't sell us gas. Are you out of power? We don't have anything. Okay. Thank you.
It was a scary situation, especially, not having great service. So as soon as we would have service, we would try to pull over and figure out what's happening, which way we should go. Not many route options up in this farmland and stuff. It was nuts.
It was concerning for a while because we would go down a road and it wasn't the right way, or there wasn't, our GPS took us a couple different ways that just didn't make any sense at all. And so we had that happening while there's all this smoke in the air, and we're watching wildfires burn just a couple miles away.
Yeah, all of this was happening so quickly that, typically if you use Google Maps or Waze or something, other drivers are able to plug in information and say, this road is closed, this is the way you need to go, the reroute or whatever. It was happening so fast that stuff wasn't happening. So we had to pull out our paper atlas sometimes and look at roads and decide which way to go for ourselves and hope that there was signage if it was closed or a flag or something to let us know. But we didn't have a whole lot of confidence that would happen because all of the resources are being thrown at managing these fires, and we were just hoping that they would let us know if we were about to turn down a road we shouldn't go down.
And it's a weird feeling when you're this happened a couple times, when you think that you're in a good place, you think okay, this is happening over here, all I have to do is go this way and I'm clear. And then you go that way, come to find out you're not clear. There's actually another fire in that direction, and suddenly you second guess everything that you do now. If we go this way, do I have an out if I run into something else? Because these things were happening so fast. They were literally, as we were driving, fires were starting. And so it was kind of this crazy, and that's just us. We're in a vehicle. We have the ability to move around and evade and flee and try to get out of Dodge. The people that this is happening to, these are their homes. They don't have this opportunity. And sometimes in a few of these places, it just happened so fast that they just couldn't do anything. And so It was a stressful time for us, certainly, but heart goes out to the people that are affected right now, because there are so many people that are being affected, and there's just not much that can be done. And even for the people that aren't evacuating right now, the air quality, it does something, like, obviously, like, if there's a ton of smoke in the air, it'll affect your breathing, it'll affect, like, your sinuses, it'll make your eyes burn,
Give you headaches.
like, those are real things, real, symptoms of something that you literally can't get away from. It's like every breath you take is suddenly like you're just creating more of this problem for yourself. And so there are people that don't have evacuation orders but have this really unhealthy air that we just drove through, and even just driving through it was just insane. It was crazy.
Even in the car, like, we were feeling some of those things. My throat was burning.
Yeah.
Zach's eyes were watering.
I felt there was a distinct point where we were coming down in altitude from the mountains, and we kind of got into the smoke, and I could almost feel at that point my eyes changed. Like, I felt my eyes begin to burn because of this. It was nuts. I've never experienced anything like that before.
Yeah, so when we were driving towards North Cascades, we saw, like, a fire happen. We got around it, and we made it to the national park.
We finally made it, yeah.
And when we got up there, it was gorgeous. The air quality was fine.
It was better. It was a little rough when we got there on the east side.
Yeah, that's fair.
As we got into the west side, it got progressively better.
Yeah, and we found this beautiful spot. We felt so lucky to get it. We were right by the water. We were set up to stay there for the full 2 weeks at a free site.
Yeah, it was
couldn't believe this was our site. We were there like 3 days, and then the smoke started to settle into that valley.
Yeah, mountains that we could see clearly that were nearby. You know, they're not like miles and miles away. They're close, that we've been looking at for days, and then suddenly we couldn't see them anymore. We wanted to spend a bunch of time in the Pacific Northwest, and we're going to, certainly. But the goal was to go up there, get into the forests, get into the old growth, get into the mountains a little bit, get into the coast, and enjoy that area, because we thought at the time that that was going to be shielded from most of the smoke, but man, we were wrong. And it came back, and it was getting worse. More fires were popping up, and then winds were blowing fires from Oregon and California, they were getting that smoke and sending it up towards Washington. It was just getting to be a little crazy. And, like I was talking about it, those symptoms of that smoke in the air, I mean, those are physical, things that are happening. And, those are, you can't get away from. But there's also this mental, like, okay, I have these physical things happening. And then also I look up and it's just this gray, you have this red light coming from the sun because it's going through all of that dense smoke, and it affects the quality of the light. So it looks like it's like the warm light from sunset and sunrise in the middle of the day, and you smell the smoke, you smell like that burning, and it's just this, it's a very, and we only experienced it for a few days, but even during that short amount of time we felt its effects, and we're feeling for the people out there that live there and that can't get away from it. It's a tough thing, for sure.
Yeah, so at that point we decided we'll save the Pacific Northwest trip for another time. We had friends we wanted to visit.
Yeah.
I never saw the West Coast. It's like that's been my goal for so long, is just to see the West Coast. But we decided to pack up and head back east, and it was the right call. But to get here, we had to drive through even worse conditions than what we saw on the way there. And
you couldn't see 100 yards in front of you in some of these places, and there wasn't even a fire right next to it. That was just smoke from other fires in the state and the other states nearby. I mean, it was awful. It just the weirdest, strangest, mind-boggling. It's still happening now, but we drove 9 hours.
You drove 10 hours.
10 hours. To get out, and we finally found clean air. We finally found we could see for miles. We back in Montana, and it was good. And then suddenly now, the smoke is back. It has followed us.
But not nearly as bad as what we saw. So we feel very fortunate to be here, where it looks smoky, and every once in a while you can kind of smell it, but like it doesn't hurt to breathe.
Yeah.
Like it hurt to breathe in some of those areas, and that's so scary.
And you're just thinking about it the whole time.
Yeah.
You're thinking about how much smoke you're breathing in, and that there's no way to get away from it really. And then so to see blue sky that wasn't just only directly overhead, you can look at an angle and see blue sky. That was nice. We're happy to announce that we've hit 50,000 subs on YouTube. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for being a huge reason why we continue to make these videos, and to just, I don't know, it's a great thing. That's a big number, and I feel like that's a milestone. So we're celebrating that with a new shirt design, but what we're doing with this one is 100% of the profits that we would make from the shirt design, they're going to the Washington Red Cross. And so, and that's designed just to help that organization do everything they can for the people of Washington, because we saw it. We saw these people be affected, and we saw the things that they were having to deal with, and it broke our hearts. And it's not going to help a ton. I mean, chances are there are only going to be a few shirts sold, but it's the least we can do to just see if we can help in some way. So again, 100% of the profits of these shirts go to the Washington Red Cross. If you'd like one, there is a link in the description below. We really love this design. We're working with Bonfire again. They were great to us. The first time, they were great to us this time.
Yeah, so our van's name is Vansel Adams, as you probably know, after Ansel Adams. So we worked with Bonfire to make this cool design that's Ansel Adams inspired, with the large format film camera on top of the van. So we think it's pretty cool. We hope
really
you like it. We've ordered a couple ourselves, and we hope we can raise some funds.
Yeah, just raise just a little bit to help the guys out there, because it was hard just hearing the fire marshal say, like, we just don't have what we need. And what can you do? You feel helpless. I felt helpless because he felt helpless, and it's just, it's a tough thing. It's a huge, I don't know, how do you combat nature like that? It's very difficult. So, anyway, all of that to say, things have been happening. Things have been going on that are kind of crazy. It's been eye-opening. It's been fascinating. It's been bewitching. We loved what we saw of Washington. As destructive and as awful as the fires are, really have presented a beautiful, haunting visual throughout this past week. The smoke and what it does to the sun and to the light and to the atmosphere and to these places that would look totally different under different circumstances, and suddenly now it's like it's another planet. And while as awful as all those other things are, I've been enjoying that part of it just a little bit, just to, I don't know, that's kind of what I look for in images sometimes. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you for being a part of 50,000 subscribers. That's a huge deal to us. That's enormous. So I don't even know what to say about it, except thank you. Do check out the shirts in the description below.
Stay safe out there. Stay inside. You know, use that air conditioning if you have it.
I mean, yeah, all of this happened during a pandemic too, so it's just wild. So anyway, take care of yourselves, do the right thing, wear masks, and watch out for the people around you, and just be part of the team right now, because everybody needs to lean on everybody else, it seems like right now, and that's what community's for. So be safe, be well, and we will catch you on the next one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.